Hey there, Hoya Robotics. It's Mr. McTavish, and this is the setup for our 2020 off-season project, the Brooke Henderson foam golf ball shooting robot. So, a couple things. First off is there is a team drive, and there are folders in there to organize everything. So um, that senior team members will have access to that, and we will get access to junior in terms of viewing and stuff like that. A couple key things that I want to mention. First off is there is a tool. This is the, oops, I accidentally hit the wrong tool, but that's okay. Um, this is the Spectrum spreadsheet, and there's a whole bunch of different resources on here which are awesome. And it's Spectrum as a team, 3847. They've got a lot of great resources, and take some time to look through this and figure it out. Now, I do want to mention we do have a part numbering standard, and I'm going to be following that in a few moments. So you want to make sure you read that to know how parts are numbered, because that's how we keep track of what we're making, what we're designing, etc., etc. So here's our document. So I'm in the Team 4152 document, and we are going to create a folder. And all of our folders have our team number and then the project. So this is the Brooke Henderson. So BH will be the initials that we'll use for this project. And this is the complete folder. So I'm just going to name that. So 1 second here. Okay, so I just need to share that folder with our team, and then everybody in the team is going to have access to that. And all of you can do the same thing. You can share with any team that you belong to. So just like that, you've now created a team. And if I go to the Team 4152, I should be seeing my folder pop up in a few seconds. Just give me 1 second here. I think I jumped the gun. There we go. And share. I just had to wait for that to kick in. So a little too fast. So now I should be able to go in there, and there's my folder. Okay, so everything that I create is now going to be shared with the team. First thing that I'm going to create is the document. So this document is going to be the main robot. So 4152, the two initials that represent the project, which is BH for this, AA, and this is the full robot. So there's my full robot. At the moment, there's absolutely nothing in here. And to be honest, there's not going to be very much in here. So this is the number, and this is the subsystem. So part number is 4152 BH A00, and that's the full robot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have part numbers for everything, and I'm going to list every time I create something. I'm going to use this spreadsheet and list it. This first sheet is going to be all of the different parts, or all the different subsystems. Every subsystem we create is going to be in here. Now, if I look at the naming standards, I can see there's my full robot. So the first thing I'm going to have is my drivetrain. So back in Onshape, I'm going to now create my drivetrain. So this is 01 and drivetrain. So here's my drivetrain. I'm just going to demonstrate this. So we're just going to create a drivetrain very quickly. Now, this is obviously not, let's say the drivetrain is 24 by 28 inches. And extrude that by 2 inches. This is obviously not how you create a drivetrain. I just want to create a shape. So there's my drivetrain. That's my part, and I would name it and number it, obviously. And the key thing is that in Onshape, my full robot in the assembly, I forgot one step here. So those of you new to CAD, you can create parts. So all I've created here is a rectangle. Obviously, I'm going to change that later on. This is an assembly, and an assembly is where you can put different parts together. You can assemble them. And for my example, there's no parts. I just wanted to show you how this works. And so this is the part that I want to make sure everybody follows, where there's my part. So that is the assembly. And in my separate robot, so here's my separate robot, there's my assembly, and I'm going to rename that. And I'm going to insert from the other documents. And this is a really important is we need to version things. So that drivetrain, I'm going to create a version. And now that I've created a version, I can insert it in here. And I'm always going to fix the very first part in an assembly so that things don't get moved around. So there we go. So now I have separate documents. And the key thing is that this main robot will not change. So let's just say I'm going to make an example here. So I'm going to go back into the drivetrain. And the reason we're separating files is so that it really speeds things up, because if we're working on a big project with all kinds of files, things start slowing down. So if you can break things down a little bit, it will make it much easier. So on the sketch, I'm just going to add a hole. And this is just for demonstration purposes. Okay. This does not look like a drivetrain at all. So when I'm done and I'm ready for something to be updated, I got to create a version. Try to explain why you're creating your version. And then this is the key thing. If you go back to the full robot, you're going to see it's not up to date. But you get a little symbol here. So that blue symbol indicates that there's been changes. And I want to restrict this to our CAD leads to be able to do basically what, when they see that they go in and they look at the other part. Um, and so when they go, oh, okay, I want to see that, then that's a good version and they can update it. And if they go, ooh, not happy with that change, they can revert back to the previous version. So now that I've got it, my robot's up to date. It's all of my subsystems will be here. So basically we won't work in this at all. What we will do is we will work in other assemblies and other parts, other documents. So each subsystem is going to have its own, um, each subsystem, it's going to be its own assembly, its own document. And in our spreadsheet, we're going to organize all of those parts by the things. We found usually full robot, drivetrain, gearbox. Usually we have some type of intake subsystem. We have some type of storage subsystem, delivery system like a shooter, electronics, bumpers. So I want to keep that kind of progression organized. And then obviously if we're like, okay, we've got a turret, then maybe that will become subsystem 8, and that's part of our strategy as we work things out. So that's kind of how everything gets put together, and looking forward to starting to build this robot and seeing what it looks like.